just ahead on CTV News.
I'm here at State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy's campaign watch party, as she is just one of 11 candidates vying to become Prince George's County's next county executive. So stay tuned as the special election results unfold.
Plus, we have the projected nominees for the District 5 County Council seat and a familiar face vying for the county state's attorney position. Those stories and more on CTV News starting now. For March 5th, I'm Mariah Jalad. Thanks for joining us. Well, yesterday's special primary election has Aisha Braveboy coming out ahead in the lead as the Democratic candidate for county executive. Our Michaela Newton was at Braveboy's watch party in New Carrollton.
Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy is seeking to become the next county executive, with her watch party marking a pivotal moment in her campaign.
I can't wait to serve as your next county executive. Thank you so much for being here.
As Prince George's County Board of Elections continue to count ballots, State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy leads the race for county executive. The former Maryland state delegate is now in her second term as state's attorney for Prince George's County. Now she's seeking to finish the term started by Senator Angela Alsobrooks, who left her position to run for Senate, defeating Larry Hogan. Out of a crowded field of 11 candidates, she received an endorsement from Governor Wes Moore.
I could not be more excited to have Aisha Braveboy as my partner inside this work.
Several council members were in attendance showing their support.
Feel great. The future is brave for Prince George's County.
Why did you guys kind of come together to support Aisha other than other, candidates?
We know it's going to be a tough road ahead, especially with the deficit. And we knew we needed a partner that was going to align with putting the needs of the community first. And we trust Aisha to do that.
Her top priorities include providing emergency resources and job placement for impacted federal workers and cleaning up Prince George's County. As her supporters gather for the watch party, all eyes are on Braveboy as she hopes to take her decades of service and passion for justice to the next level as county executive.
Well, I'm feeling really good because I've been with her from the beginning. I am a senior. She has always had us in her heart.
She understands what the citizens of Prince George's County need, especially as senior citizens, and she's been out there campaigning and talking to them, as well as our teachers and our police officers. So we know she's ready for the job.
And as election officials continue to count all of the ballots, two candidates also in the running for the county's top job say they're not conceding. CTV's Katara Jones has more from Calvin Hawkins' campaign, and Bryce Parker reports from Rashern Baker's.
The numbers are not at this time in our favor.
And with that, Calvin Hawkins thanked his supporters Tuesday night in an emotional and at times tearful speech. And earlier today, Hawkins put out a statement saying he's not conceding because there are still a large number of votes that have not been counted.
When we started, the polls said we couldn't win. But as we traveled around this county, we heard otherwise.
Hawkins currently serves as an at-large member on the county council. Unofficial results show that so far he has received 20% of the vote.
After the votes have been tallied, I will work with that person, and I ask each and every one of you to work with the person, because it's about Prince George's County.
I think people didn't really get the message. That's what I feel. I feel that they didn't get the message out there at what he's actually done.
During his speech, Hawkins says he plans to finish his term on the county council, but has no plans to run for any other elected office. Katara Jones, CTV News.
And in Lanham, former county executive Rashern Baker was joined by a host of supporters hoping to celebrate his potential third term as Prince George's County executive.
We think he's the change that the county really needs.
What he showed was proven experience and leadership
and it's not going to take 6 to 8 to 9 months for anyone to learn.
I think he did a great job his first term. Those 8 years were a wonderful time for the county, and we really think it's time for him to bring him back.
Was the slogan of the night here at the Baker Watch Party, but stiff competition from State's Attorney Aisha Braveboy, who currently leads the polls by a hefty margin, will most likely block Baker from a third term. But the former county executive made it very clear he was not ready to concede last night.
We think it's early. We think there's going to be a good push. We knew early on some of the early returns are going to be there, some of the mail-in ballots, but we feel good about where we are, and we think we're going to win this.
Leaning on the optimism that lightning will strike for a third time, propelling Baker to the seat that he won a decade and a half ago.
We need somebody who's actually done this before, who's lowered crime in Prince George's County. He's built our economy, who knows how to deal with the federal government that's hostile to us. And so that's what we've been saying every day of the campaign since we got started.
Reporting from Lanham, I'm Bryce Parker, CTV News.
Thanks, Bryce and Katera. And both the Baker and Hawkins campaigns are still waiting for those final numbers. And once all the votes are counted, the Democrat nominee and Republican nominee will face off in the general election on June 3rd. Also up for grabs is the vacant District 5 County Council seat. Former Prince George's County Board of Education member Shayla Adams Stafford is the projected winner for the Democratic primary by over 15 percentage points. Republican candidate Fred Price Jr. ran unopposed. Price and Adams Stafford are expected to also face off in the general election on June 3rd. And District 2 County Council member Wanika Fisher wants to be Prince George's next state's attorney. Fisher made the announcement today in a video release. The announcement comes a day after current state's attorney Aisha Braveboy claims victory in the Democratic primary for county executive. Fisher, who served in the General Assembly from 2019 to 2022, was elected to county council in 2022.
I was an assistant state's attorney under Angela Alsobrooks. I served in the House Judiciary Committee. I helped write our police reform. I've been the chair of Health and Human Services over every public safety agency here in Prince George's County. The governor thought it fit to have me represent the county on the governor's Judicial Safety Task Force. So I have years in the policymaking side, prosecuting, and defense. I've been a defense attorney for the last 5 years. So I think I can see both sides of justice.
Now, assuming Braveboy wins in the general election in June as expected, the circuit court judges will appoint the next state's attorney to serve the rest of Braveboy's term. And if Fisher is appointed, it will mean another special election to fill her county council seat. And in other news, Maryland Governor Wes Moore has released a supplemental budget that restores some cuts around developmental disability services. But those funds come at the expense of clean energy projects, state employee raises, and other cuts. The budget changes will also delay implementation for another year of the Family and Medical Leave Insurance Program. The governor's supplemental budget also cuts $80 million from the $180 million that was originally planned for efforts to boost clean energy projects across the state. And as the governor continues to crunch numbers, lawmakers in Annapolis are floating a plan aimed at cutting the state's budget deficit. The plan is to implement a new tax on businesses. Supporters say it could raise $1 billion a year for the state. The proposal would set a 2.5% tax on services businesses sell to each other, like marketing and equipment repair. It would not apply to individuals. The measure was proposed by Montgomery County Delegate David Moon. And you're watching CTV News. I'm Mariah Jalad. Still to come, last night, President Donald Trump addressed Congress in D.C. After the break, we speak to our political contributor, John Ronquillo, on what was said and what it means for an already divided country. Back in a moment.
Everyone likes rooting for their favorite team with some friends. But if you plan on drinking, don't drive. Designate a sober driver or schedule a rideshare for a safe ride home. Be the make a plan driver. Be the driver who saves lives.
I wish people knew that when you live in a small town like mine, it's much, much harder to find friends with common interests, especially ones my age. I often feel really alone.
Same here. Seems like every time we finally settle somewhere, I have to pack up and move again. By the time I make a real friend, I have to say goodbye to them.
I totally get it. I live in a big city, but it can feel just as lonely. It's tough, but it gets easier.
Honestly, I totally get what you're going through. It's nice to know that you feel the same.
You enjoyed my story. I really enjoyed your story as well.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump celebrated what he called a common sense revolution in his joint address to Congress Tuesday night. He used the speech to blame Democrats for ongoing problems in the country and took credit for disrupting Washington and global affairs.
Listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens.
Trump gave a list of programs he's already ended, like foreign aid, regulations, and diversity initiatives. He defended his use of tariffs against Canada, Mexico, and China, even while some raise alarms of major impacts to the economy.
There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much.
He praised Elon Musk for his work with Doge, laying off thousands of government workers, even as some Democrats brought fired federal workers as guests.
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this.
More than anything, the speech highlighted the major partisan divides in the country.
Joe Biden, the worst president in American history. These people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what.
One Democrat was even thrown out for protesting Trump's claims that he had a mandate in the last election.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
And now joining us to break down the night is our political contributor, John Ronquillo. Thanks so much for joining us, John.
Thank you, Mariah. Great to be here.
So is this the new state of politics now with this loud disruption in the Capitol from the Democrats? I mean, is this a good strategy for them?
I mean, it's a good strategy for the Republicans. And is this the new normal? It's entirely possible. I think that we've been ramping up to this for a long time, to where we have seen a virtual death of decorum in that chamber. And we see a lot of hypocrisy as well. The reference to Representative Al Green being asked to remove harkens back to previous representatives such as Marjorie Taylor Greene shouting liar, Joe Wilson shouting you lie at former President Obama. A lot of finger pointing without much accountability, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm. And when it comes to Trump's speech, you know, some compared it to his campaign speeches. He was just kind of taking a victory lap. But was there anything new policy-wise in this speech?
Not really, to tell you the truth. I think anybody who has at least tried to follow along with, you know, the 6 weeks that we have seen of this current term of his, which he's moving at a breakneck speed, signing executive order after executive order, in my opinion, trying to deliberately exhaust us and lose us in the minutia. I don't think that anything substantively new was introduced in the speech. And as you mentioned, it did seem more of a propagandized campaign speech as opposed to keeping the focus on policy, keeping our sights on, you know, egg prices, which were brought up sort of tongue in cheek, but very much he placed the blame on Joe Biden. And it was much more of, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look at all the great things we're doing, when so many of the things that he mentioned only slightly verged on truth, if true at all.
Mm-hmm. And he did say that, you know, he's doing what he was elected to do, what his party elected him to do. Is there anything that he's done to kind of distance himself from this base or upset his base?
I think we're going to start to see the tables turn a little bit. It makes me think of some of these senators and representatives who have gone to their home districts to have town halls. More recently, I can think of Roger Marshall of Kansas, a senator there, who was booed resoundingly following the conclusion of his town hall. And rather than hold himself to account for representing Kansans who are very concerned about things that are happening at the national level, he instead pivoted to the media and said that it was a very rude crowd. And so I have some pretty deep-seated concerns about the extent to which the president and our various congressional representatives are actually listening to the American public. We are the ones who are voters, but even if you didn't vote, who are going to feel the pinch, feel the pressure, feel the pain, however you want to describe it, of these actions. And I think that if the president doesn't start listening soon, there's going to be some interesting things developing when it comes to the midterms.
And this is coming just as tariffs go into effect for Mexico, Canada, and China. Trump said reciprocal tariffs on Europe will go into effect in April. And, you know, he said it's not going to have much effect on the economy, but we're hearing concerns about a trade war. So what could this mean for Trump and the economy?
Yeah, I think that it's a very dangerous thing to do, to level these tariffs, especially at some of our most treasured allies and friends on the international front, very specifically with Canada and Mexico. I do think that President Claudia Sheinbaum and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau have been very strong and very forceful in their responses. China's a bit of a different story, but at the end of the day, these tariffs are going to hurt Americans first. The cost will be absorbed by us. And that is going to be something that will only exacerbate what many voters have already expressed concerns about with regard to rising prices. And to do so to many of our friends and allies in Europe would be even more damaging. And I think that it would be a very deleterious move if he moved forward on those.
All right. Thanks so much for coming back and being with us, John.
Thank you, Mariah.
And still to come on CTV News, business owners and executives gathered today in the county. Find out how the group wants to expand the county's economic development after the break.
My name's Stacy, I'm 57, and I was adopted in 2020.
We were adopted in 2019.
And we were adopted in 2021.
We had a house, and it sounds crazy, but it wasn't a home. The one thing that Jake and Emma brought is it became a home.
When I met Dakota, he had just turned 14.
You weren't there for the first this and the first that. I missed the first words, but we got a lot of other firsts.
Watching her say, oh my God, I cannot believe I got my license. And she's like, I passed. And I'm like, girl.
See them grow. It is.
They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
You and you.
Kids in the middle.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete, but it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
Got one of these hanging on the wall? You're qualified. One of these? You're qualified too. Love a good checklist? Qualified. 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 Yep, qualified. Because if you know how to put up anything in your home, you're qualified to save lives by installing free smoke alarms in your community. Go to soundthealarm.org to find a volunteer event near you.
An Upper Marlboro man pleads guilty to helping and filing false and fraudulent tax returns. Court documents reveal 64-year-old Charles Keemer prepared and submitted hundreds of income tax returns for his clients between 2013 and 2016. However, Keemer is not registered as a tax preparer and has no prior experience or education in the area. Keemer also added false items to the returns to increase the size of tax refunds for his clients. The tax loss due to Keemer's actions totaled to nearly $130,000. And he faces a maximum sentence of 3 years in federal prison. And if you've ever tried to pay for street parking in the DMV area, you might have used the Park mobile app. And if you have, you might be eligible for compensation. After a 2021 data breach impacting millions of Park mobile users, the company is now set to pay $32.8 million settlement in a class action lawsuit. Users who received a notification from the app about the 2021 data security incident are eligible for a cash payment of $25 or a $1 credit in the app. Eligible users must submit a claim by 11:59 tonight at the website on your screen. And economic development for Prince George's takes center stage in College Park this morning. Business owners and executives, along with law enforcement officials, held a roundtable discussion. The event was called Prince George's County Business and Economic Imperative. Topics included economic trends, business challenges, and public safety collaboration.
If we look at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and we look at all the changes, structural changes coming in this country, I think it's incumbent on business who takes the lead for the economic future, especially what's going on in Prince George's County. We sit strategically close to D.C., so what impacts D.C. really impacts this county as well.
First, we want to just find out maybe could be the issues that companies are having that we may not be aware of. You know, sometimes when you're operating in your own organization, you can be a little insular, but getting an opportunity to go outside and hear what other entities are talking about, find out what their issues may be, it allows you to better do your job.
A few dozen attended the event, which was held at IKEA. And Washington, D.C. is removing the large Black Lives Matter mural near the White House. Mayor Muriel Bowser made the announcement, saying the mural had a powerful impact, but it's time to focus on more pressing issues. She shared her thoughts on social media, stressing that distractions from Congress and President Trump can't take priority right now. This marks a shift for Bowser, who had previously ordered the mural and renamed the area Black Lives Matter Plaza in 2020 during the protests after George Floyd's death. And the county's summer youth enrichment program is back. The 6-week workforce development initiative will take place between July 1st and August 8th. Participants ages 14 through 24 will take place in professional development workshops, gain hands-on work experience, mentorship opportunities, and explore different career paths. Applications are now open until March 31st. You can apply online at syep.mypgc.us. And TSA is expecting high passenger volumes during the peak of spring break. From March 6th to the 24th, air travel numbers are anticipated to increase by more than 5%. To help travelers prepare, TSA recommends the following tips to help travelers have a smooth experience. Pack smart and organize your bags to comply with TSA regulations. Allow plenty of time to get through security, especially during peak hours. Make sure you have a valid form of ID, real ID, or another acceptable form of identification. And as always, pack your patience. It's time for our pet of the week. Meet Pablo. He's a 3-year-old black domestic short-hair cat. He's been at the shelter since the first. Animal management says that Pablo loves treats.
He's a very sweet boy, and he said that he enjoys to be around kids and he loves treats. He could be shy at first, but he loves treats, especially churros. Once you give him the treats, he's your best friend.
Well, if you'd like to adopt Pablo or any of his friends, call Animal Management at 301-780-7200. And don't move, Simon Buggs is here with our Wednesday Sports page.
What's going on, sports fans? The high school state basketball playoffs continue, and I have some highlights just for you coming up on CTV Sports. See whose season came to a close and who moved on to the next round right here. Stay tuned.
We grew up together. We believed in something bigger than ourselves. The military took me to one side of the world and her to the other. And even though she was always the strong one, when we caught up years later, I found out she had fallen on some hard times. It was her call to make, but doing it together made all the difference.
When I see homeless vets on my route, I always think to myself, we both swore an oath to protect our way of life, to protect our community. With VA's hotline for homeless vets, I can get them connected with help to get them back on their feet again.
VA's round-the-clock hotline can put veterans who are homeless in touch with the resources and support they earned through their military service. You have the power to help a veteran facing homelessness. Go to va.gov/homeless to print your walled cards. For veterans who are homeless or on the brink of homelessness, call 877-424-3838.
All right, everyone, you know what time it is. Let's get straight to it. There was some playoff action over in Lanham last night as the Duval High School boys basketball team looked to defend home turf against Eleanor Roosevelt. In the first quarter, the Tigers offense struggled to get anything going as missed shots and free throws had them scoreless through much of the period. And the Raiders took advantage as this triple made by Deion Wells, coming off of the assist by Dante Whitaker, and this nice finish inside from Benaiah Nwosu helped Roosevelt jump out to a 10-0 lead. Then with a little under a minute left in the quarter, Tigers fans all asked themselves the same question, 21, can you do something for me? And he did just that as number 21, Anthony Vines, got his team their first bucket of the night with this putback shot. And soon after, the Tigers got a steal and turned defense into offense with this layup, and they went into the second quarter down 10-4. In the second quarter, Duval's offense really began to get going more as they matched Roosevelt bucket for bucket in the quarter, as this floater made by Duval, this mid-range jumper hit by Vines, and center and power forward Victor Norbueze, showing nice hustle on this putback layup, helped the Tigers score the same amount of points as the Raiders in the quarter, which was 11. Duval went into halftime down 21-15, but they couldn't complete their comeback as their season came to a close, falling to Roosevelt 61-47. Meanwhile, the Fairmont Heights boys basketball team took a trip to the Lions Den as they matched up against Largo. Largo started the first quarter off well with this scoop layup from Aiden Ash, had the team up 13-6 to begin the game. Plays from the Hornets like this drive and kick from Jordan Blackman to Khalil Moore for the made tray ball, and guard Devontae Dyson scoring amongst the trees with this mid-range shot only had the team down 22-14 going into the second quarter. The Lions were able to extend their lead to double digits in the second quarter with this bucket from Cam Ward, who had 28 points in the game. And the Lions kept their foot on the gas. This steal and layup from two-guard Jalen Johnson, a pull-up transition three from number 11, J.R. Mobley, this slam dunk from Ward, and this tough layup made by Johnson after a turnover by the Hornets helped Largo go on a 30-9 run, and the team was up 52-23 going into the half. And Largo sent their fans home happy, coming out on top 91-75. And congratulations to Cam Ward, as with the 28 points he scored in last night's game, he is now Maryland's all-time leading scorer in boys basketball history. Ward now has 2,618 career points. Good luck the rest of the way, Cam. Moving on to more high school hoops news, more teams took the court last night as Frederick Douglass fell to Henry Lackey 61-53. Bowie came out on top versus Annapolis 53-37. And finally, Flowers kept their season live against Parkdale, winning 83-47. And that wraps up your Wednesday sports page. Simon Bugs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. Now let's get a look at our 3-day weather forecast. Tonight, showers are sticking around until about 2 a.m. Tomorrow will reach a high of 50. It's going to be partly sunny and breezy. Friday, it'll be mostly sunny. We'll have a high of 56 and low of 40. Saturday will be partly sunny with a high of 51. And for our community calendar, tomorrow night, the Hillcrest Heights Branch Library is hosting Family Game Night celebrating Women's History Month. play a matching game to celebrate and recognize the contributions of women throughout history. This event takes place from 4 to 5 p.m. For more information, contact 240-455-5451. And that wraps up CTV News for now. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. Good night.